Washed by Bon Iver is my favorite song of all time, but the lyrics aren't exactly like clear. Like when I listen to it, I don't really know what he's saying, so I decided to just sit down and actually analyze like all the lyrics. Well, I try to at least. It's my interpretation. I don't know if that's what he meant by it, but I'm gonna try my best to give some kind of explanation for these strange lyrics.
Okay, verse 1. Climb is all we know. When thaw is not below us. No can't grow up in that iron ground. Clear, all too sore for sound. Climb is all we know could be referring to how life is a trek, and going forward is all we know how to do. When thaw or the melting of ice is not below us, meaning the ground is still rigid from the ice, which ties into the next line. No can grow up in an iron ground. You can expect plants to grow when the ground is frozen, iron being a hyperbole. So when the ground of your foundation is frozen or stagnant, you can't properly grow or grow up despite having the urge to climb. Next he says Claire, all too sore for sound. I believe he's talking to Eau Claire, and he's saying that he's too sore and tired to be in a sound state of mind. Verse 2. Bet is hardly shown, scraped across the foam, like they stole it, and oh how they hold it. Claire, we nearly forfeit. Bet is hardly shown. Bet can mean to feel sure about something, and how surety is hardly shown. Scraped across the foam is him talking about how this feeling of certainty is escaping him, and they could be referring to the outside world that stole this sense of sureness and certainty from him, and is holding it hostage, which makes sense because the next line is him saying, Claire, we nearly forfeit, which Justin is once again talking about his hometown of Eau Claire, and saying that he's ready to give up. Okay, first chorus. I'm growing like the quickening hues. I'm telling darkness from lines on you. Over havens fora, fallen, swollen morass, young habitat, all been living alone, where the ice snap and the whole clashed are known. I'm going like the quickening hues. I feel like he's talking about sunrise here. The quickening hues in question are like the sun illuminating the land. Next, he says he's telling darkness from lines on you, which I think here he's talking about his lyrics. Like whenever he writes something down, his own darkness comes out while he's expressing himself, and he's aware of this as he's like growing and changing. Over havens fora, full and soil and morass, young habitat. A haven is a safe place, and fora is plural for forum, which is a place for meeting. I'm guessing he's saying he's over at Havens Fora, a safe place for him to talk about his ideas. Next, he says full and swollen morass, or morass is an area of muddy ground, a young habitat. Conceptually speaking, a full morass could be the start of a ecosystem or young habitat, but metaphorically speaking, a morass has another meaning, which is a complicated or confused situation. Justin is the young habitat. He's still growing, like the quickening hues, and he now has a safe place to talk about it. All but living alone is internal dialogue. It's just what he tells himself when he's going through things. By ice snap, he probably meant cold snap. He wanted to use a different word. And a class is like a fragment of a rock. So here he could be saying, like during the winter, when the ice snap comes, he becomes aware of parts of his sense of self. Verse 3. This was the easiest verse because it was the most straightforward. Home, where savage high, come, we finally cry. Oh, how we done it, because it's right. Claire, I was too sore for sight. In the first verse says he was reminiscing his hometown of Eau Claire, and now he's finally returned. He's elated about this. Now that he's home, he's finally able to let the tears go. To don means to wrap oneself in, so he's allowing himself to be covered in his feeling because it's right. Then he addresses Eau Claire again, saying he's too sore for sight. He's probably talking about the crying. He's too sore for sight. Yeah. Okay, now we're on the second chorus. These verses almost broke me because I had no clue what he was talking about. Okay, so first he says, I were sung up through the latcher greens. I, until keenness, honey bean for bean. Same white pillow tone as with the bone streets and a stone where she stashed us at. All been living alone. With a crack sat in the low part of the stoning. I have no clue what he's trying to say here, but I'm gonna try my best. When he's saying we're sewing up through the latchet greens, to like sewing up means like fixing something. But in the context of this song, I think he's saying, like he's referring to himself. Latchet greens doesn't really make sense. A latchet used to fashion a shoe to a foot. And greens, he's probably talking about like forest, vegetation here, nature. So I think he's saying he's fixing himself by attaching himself to nature. Like we or himself is sewing up through the latchet greens. Crazy line. The next line, unpeel keenness, honey, bean for bean. Keenness is to be very eager about something. I think he's saying here he's slowly opening up and looking forward to living. And bean for bean is a line to visualize the process. Same white pillar tone as with the bone treat center stone where she stashed us at. The same white pillar tone is probably referring to snow or the color of snow. The same white pillar tone or same white pillar color. Bone Street is probably a metaphor for saying that the street is dead, it's like desolate. Where she stashed us at, she is probably talking about Eau Claire, his hometown, and she is holding him hostage during the winter, should I say. He then repeats all been living alone, but then he says it twice this time. So it's probably like the feeling of being alone is probably really creeping up on him this time, like it's starting like to get to him. And he's really enforcing this idea by repeating it twice. Where the crack sat in the low part of the stoning. So saying that the cracks in the low part of the stoning, he's saying that the cracks are in the base, in the foundation. So I feel like he's talking about himself again. And he's the cracks starting to form in his personality or his sense of self, which makes sense because the line before this he says, "All but living alone" twice. So, and then the line after that he says, "Enough of this." So I think that's what he's talking about. Then give us the ground, give us the ground. It's spelled grown, so I don't know why he pronounced it like that. Not really sure. But give us the ground, I think he's just talking about the nature. He wants the nature to come back. He did a magazine where he said that this song is about how the rain washes away the snow in March. So I think that's what he's talking about.
So to put all that together, this song's about growth and change, the rain coming down to wash the snow away, and the cold and dry, despondent vibes from the cold season are leaving as the sun comes out for spring and the life returns to the land, and Justin himself is also growing and changing, just like the weather. Yeah, that's what I get from the lyrics.